There is no better place in Del Mar than Snooze for delicious breakfast and brunch. Sometimes they have lines wrapped around the corner. Thankfully, we have one of the most popular guys around, and I think I see him. Mario Gutierrez, multiple Kentucky Derby winner. You up for some breakfast?
Yes.
All right, let's go in. Well, before we can eat any of this food, which looks and smells so delicious, right? This is definitely on a jockey's diet, I think.
Yeah, definitely it is. A lot of protein here.
Right? Mario, you gotta tell us, how did you even get into riding? Because you've traveled, from what I know, all around the world.
I did. I got into horse racing because of my dad. I was probably 7, 8 years old. My dad was learning how to become a quarter horse rider. So I was watching my dad learning how to become a jockey for quarter horses, I just fell in love with the horses, and at the time I just wanted to be like my dad, I wanted to do what my dad did, so that's how it all started.
So did he approve of you becoming a rider? Was it something that he enjoyed because you guys had some bonding time?
He did approve right away, and my mom didn't. My mom was against it the whole time. But
was she nervous?
She was nervous, I guess. She didn't like me getting hurt when I was so young.
So what was your first experience like when you got aboard a horse?
Well, we grew up on a farm, so I was already getting on horses, like a saddle horses. So that, I was probably 6 years old, and I was already on top of those horses, by myself, and so I always enjoyed that. But being on top of a racehorse, it was different, so more powerful, and they go so fast. I just fell in love with it, how fast they go,
So if his background was in quarter horse racing, why didn't you fall into that?
I did. I rode quarter horses since I was 14 until 19 years old.
But then something about thoroughbred racing really captured your attention?
Yeah. I was in Veracruz, and then the only racetrack in Mexico is in actually Mexico City. So I was watching ESPN, Mexico ESPN or something like that, and they had a session of half an hour, and they would recap the highlights of the weekend on Mexico City racetrack, And then so I started watching that, and I always thought in my head, how well would I do competing against these top level guys at the time, So that got into my head, and as soon as I finished high school, I asked my dad if permission to go ride in Mexico City, and that's how I landed in Mexico City. And then exactly a year later, then somebody from Canada showed up in Mexico and offered me a job in Canada. I agreed to that, and a year later, I was in Canada. I stayed there for 6 years.
Was that nerve-wracking though, leaving Mexico City, leaving your family who was there to go to Canada and ride?
Yes, that was very scary. It was very scary because of the language barrier. I couldn't say anything in English. I couldn't even say thank you or anything like that. So going to Canada, it was very, very scary. That was I remember leaving my mom and my dad at the airport. That was hard.
But you met someone very special in Canada, did you not?
Yeah, I didn't know that at the time, but I did. My wife Rebecca. Now my wife Rebecca, she picked me up from the airport the very first day I arrived in Canada. So I wouldn't know if we were gonna get married 10 years later.
What a sweet story, though. She was literally the first person that you met when you got to Canada.
Yeah, she did. That happened because her dad, he's involved into the horse racing industry in Canada, and he was helping me translating my letters to English to Spanish so I can understand all the process when I was getting the visas and everything. So that's how he knew I was coming, and then he sent her daughter to pick me up. I always wanted to come down to California, but that was another scary jump from me. I was very, very comfortable in Canada. I was winning a lot. I was making enough money to to help my family and to enjoy life. So it was kind of my comfort zone. So to move to California was scary, especially the first couple of months that I arrived here. Nobody knew me. I can hardly pick a mount. I couldn't even work horses for anybody else. So it was a little bit challenging.
Well, fast forward. Now everybody knows you. You've won 2 Kentucky Derbies. Can you just give us that experience from what you're talking about, just moving here, you couldn't even gallop horses in the morning, to then becoming one of the most notable jockeys around.
Yeah, that's just amazing. I mean, I could never imagine. Like, it was always my dream. Or I guess any jockey's dream is to win the Kentucky Derby. So that was always on the back of my head. That I knew I was gonna make it there somehow. I just knew I was gonna make it. But you know, like now, like happened to win two of those. It's just I could never imagine. You know.
Can you compare those two Kentucky Derbies, going in with All Have Another versus going in with Nyquist? Because obviously the same connections, but two different horses.
Yes, no, and they're very, very different experience. The first one was like kind of like I wanted to prove everybody, you know, that I belong here in the horse racing in the United States. Like nobody knew me. Like a lot of people were criticizing, like probably Doug or Redham, you know, to have a rookie rider on the biggest stage of horse racing. So, like I just wanna, like, I didn't say it to anybody, but like in the inside of me, I was like, you guys will see, you guys will see. So I was happy that it was like the whole shock, you know, like when I crossed the wire, I just couldn't believe it. Like I couldn't believe it was me winning the Kentucky Derby. So that was very, very excited. Like it was like a lot of emotions, a lot of adrenaline. Nyquist, it was totally different because like I went to slum, you know, like everybody knows from I'll Have Another to Nyquist, it was like a 4-year gap. So I kind of have to, I got married, I had to rebuild my career pretty much from the bottom again, and I put a lot of different things into myself, you know. I started taking care of better of myself, and I felt that I really put a lot of work into my riding. I feel more focused. So like winning the Kentucky Derby with Nyquist, it was more like a joy that, like, you know, that I worked so hard for it, you know. So and now having my wife, and she was pregnant. 5 months pregnant at the time. It was amazing.
I don't think too many people knew that your wife was pregnant at the Derby until you went and kissed her stomach. Was that the moment that you kind of announced it to the world?
I think so, yeah. I think that's the moment that, like, I remember that night going to the hotel room, and I think I put something on social media, I believe, yeah.
Can you talk about, though, because you mentioned you went through a slump, and Paul Redham and the O'Neill camp has been very supportive of you in your career since the beginning. How influential has Paul Redham been on you?
It's very, very influential, especially, like I said, in those 4 years. Like I was like super down. But then, like I say, like I mean, Rebecca, Redham, and Doc, it really helped me a lot. When I really decided to like try to look at myself and start to doing something different. I mean, I realized that I'm a very, very lucky person. You know, I always have like amazing people surround me. When I landed in Canada, I didn't know anybody, and then I landed with the most amazing people in Canada. Glenn and Troy Taylor, they became my family, right? So I stayed with them for like 6 years. And then all of a sudden I come to California and I got the same exact deal, you know, like Mr. Redham has been like amazing to me, like beyond amazing. And then Doug's like, you know, try to support me in every each way he can, you know. So like I had to look at that, you know, and be like, you know, regardless if I'm like in this slum that I call it a slum, you know, like I still have these people, and obviously they still have my back. So that would really encourage me to do something better, you know, they deserve better from me.
It's interesting when you call it a slump, because people would still say that here in Southern California you were a top jockey during that time, but for you personally, it felt like a slump. Was it just because you didn't have that big horse, say like I'll Have Another or Nyquist?
Not necessarily. It was like I say, it was very, very hard for me to get into other barns, you know. Like I want to be like I wanted to ride for more people. I wanted to get exposed more, you know. And then like at the time that was very, very difficult, you know. I changed a couple agents. Like things were just not doing at the pace that I wanted to.
Well, do you feel like now that you've kind of broadened your horizons and you're more than just Doug O'Neill's top jock?
Yeah, like now I do, like, you know, like Jerry Hollendorfer started like open the door for me. Like your dad has been amazing. Your dad has been.
My dad loves you.
Yeah, your dad has been like now like as good as Doug. You know, sometimes I feel even better because he always gives me the chance, and then he also allows me to. He knows the deal that I have with Redham. You know, that I had to write first call for Redham, and your dad really worked with me in each and every way, and like. You know, having that type of barn behind myself now is like it's huge. You know, like you have like two so big barns. You know, they're always doing well. I think that I'm so happy. I'm so happy. And like I say, and slowly, I'm still trying to break into more barns. You know, I will be top jockey here.
I like that. Does a riding title mean something to you?
You know, title jockey, like titles never like interested me a lot. I want to have one though. Like I will win a leading title here, but like it's more like good horses. You know, like, I want to find as many good horses as I can, and like I say, call it whatever you want to call it, but I'm always been lucky enough to find, you know, always like amazing horses, you know, like
quality over quantity.
Yeah, I'm so lucky, you know, like to always like bumping into like great horses. Like I'm riding a great horse for you, that she's amazing. And, I mean, it's always champagne room. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we can get into the amazing 2-year-olds that you've been aboard. And speaking of Nyquist, you are his rider. You knew him leading into his debut. At what moment did you know that he was going to be something great?
Well, I kind of always knew, you know, like you get in the morning, you exercise a lot of horses, and all of a sudden, you know, you get into this horse, and then it gives you a little something. It's very hard to describe for me, you know, but it's kind of like a feeling, kind of like an energy kind of type of thing. And I kind of knew he has like that something, like energy, charisma, something different that like other. He wasn't just a regular horse, you know. And I mean, that got me really excited. Every time that I feel that into a horse, like it gets me really excited. Like, so that was the first, you know. And then watching him like winning and kept winning and keep winning, you know, like it just he proved to us that he was in fact, you know, the type of horse that could have won the competition.
Is the crystal that you wear, does that have to do with energy? What does that mean?
I think it does. My wife got me into crystal, so like I should wear it. But they say it's good energy.
Your wife has obviously been a huge influence on you.
Yeah, she is.
She got you going to the sports therapy? Is that what she got you into?
No, it's sports psychologist.
Sports psychologist.
Yeah.
So what is that?
It's like a psychologist for sports. Yeah, it's like there is a person, like I said, when I was in Islam, you know, like there was things that were like so complicated for me to do. Like now it's easy now, you know. But he made me look like different. Like the stuff that I was doing, he made me like do everything different. You know, he made me start remembering what was the stuff that I was doing when I was first wanted to break into the industry. You know, the first what I did the first time I went to Mexico City. You know, what was the first things I started doing when I went to Canada. You know, like those things, the things where I was successful at it. You know, and so I remember one of the things I was like, you know what, I was waking up super early. I was going into the races, and I would go like to talk to a lot of people. You know, trying to get into horses. And then he's like, well, why didn't you do that here? And then at the time, it was so heavy on me because I was like, well, no, you know, like I already win these big races, you know. I thought it should be easier, you know. I thought that I didn't have to do this kind of stuff. So he encouraged me to do exactly that. So I remember one day I walked into the racetrack at Santa Anita like at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, I didn't know where to go. It was like back to like so many years ago, like I didn't know where to go. But you know, every day was easier and easier, and now it's just like, I thought about it and I was like, that was silly.
It's so much more than just a physical sport, it's a mental sport too.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I'm gonna make you put your handicapping hat on and help us out with this weekend, okay? Because you have numerous horses in the stakes races. We'll start off with Friday, the Shared Belief Stakes. You drew the rail with Semper Fortis for Doug O'Neill. With his one-run style, does that concern you at all?
No, not really. Like Semper Fortis is a very easy horse to ride. You know, like he has enough speed to get him out of trouble. You know, to place him in a good spot. You know, he's coming out he's gonna come fresh. You know, so I think that will give him a little bit of extra speed. You know, so I think I will just have to ride his race. You know, I can't focus too much on. I will focus on the other horses, but I have to ride his race. You know, like the perfect race for him. You know, and I think we're gonna be fine.
How much handicapping do you do prior to the race?
Oh, I do. It depends. Each horse, the way I look at it, like each horse is very, very different. You know, like if it's a horse that I continuously been riding, you know, then I got to know him. I got to know the competition. I focus just on the distance. You know, like if there's any new horses in the race, that's kind of that I look more into. At the end of the day, I really don't spend I don't obsess over, you know, like the racing form, because like as soon as they open the gates, anything else can happen, you know. So you're always trying to keep your options open, you know, for anything.
Well, come Saturday, you'll be riding in Dexical in the Grade 2 Pat O'Brien. Now, you've got a total speedster and elite horse in Masochistic. So in that sense, do you change your tactics when you have a horse like that in the race?
A little bit, yeah. We have to change a little bit. Like last time the Executive run, I didn't have the chance to ride him. You know, I was out of town, but I was watching his replay. So he ran an unbelievable race. You know, he was like behind the speed, but pretty much the whole time. And so I think we're gonna trying to do the same. You know, like let the speed like burn if they're gonna burn themselves. You know, and then hopefully try to like attack them hard in the end.
And then come Sunday, Grade 3 Torrey Pines, you'll be aboard She's a Warrior. It's the same kind of situation where you have a very fast horse in Enola Gray who's undefeated. What are the tactics for She's a Warrior? Because now finally she broke her maiden.
I know. I know. Like I think that like I had to discuss it with your dad, but I think that the style that we have to do, like you know, like the Noah Gray, she's gonna show us the lead. I have no reason to believe that why they have to try to do something different. You know, I believe she will be in the front. You know, and I believe we'll just have to track her. You know.
How much do you think she got out of running in those big races, the graded events against the likes of Songbird, as well as in the Black Eyed Susan, as a maiden? Do you think she got a lot of experience out of those races?
Oh, definitely, yeah, like definitely. I think that really gives a lot of horses experience, you know. And I didn't think that. I think they're really positive because you know, like there were hard races for her, you know. But like you know, having such a dominant horse like Songbird, you know, sometimes it like that. Sometimes when you know you have a horse that is so dominant that is winning by so many lengths, you know, they don't get to kill your horse hard. You know, they still have the hard. Like sometimes when you battle with a horse head to the wire, you know, one horse gives up and at some point, you know, I don't think that happened to your dad's horse. So we're gonna be good in that.
Looking forward to it.
I know, me too.
Well, I think I've bothered you with too many questions, and this food has just smelled so good. So Mario, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Britney.
Well, that was another edition of Racing Connoisseurs here at Del Mar Hotspot Snooze with Kentucky Derby winning jockey Mario Gutierrez. Can we eat now?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, let's eat now, right? Okay, this is going first, right?
What is this?
Oh my gosh.
Oh wow, that's good. I'll be 2 pounds over
That's
today.
amazing. Ah, it's close. Okay, it was close. Ready? Ready? Last one. Double or nothing.